As we swept into the 70s, we saw an acceleration of staff, services, and indoor and outdoor facilities. As well, a critical shift was happening in communities throughout BC. Many initiated their first long-range master plan. Parks began to include the concept of linear parks as part of an overall open space system. Trails and bikeways were integrated into the recreation experience, and by the end of the 1970s, multipurpose complexes were being built. Eric Broom, you were part of a exploratory trip to Britain.
And so what I saw there were models of new kinds of facilities which were in Germany and Holland, and then when Britain started, they started adding to that, and so I saw that there was something that we could use in BC.
At the same time, there was a growing recognition of the needs of citizens facing physical, mental, and financial challenges. A new generation of recreation leaders, most with degrees in the discipline, brought with them new perspectives about community development, meaningful citizen participation in decision-making, and partnerships between the community and the organizations it housed. We recently caught up with Agnes Zylos in a fitness room in the Oak Bay Recreation Center. Agnes?
I think what was happening in the 70s is the sector was moving from sort of people in the field that had a sports background and maybe they ran the local arena, or maybe they were the best hockey player in town or the best tennis player in town, and it was moving to a professional field where people were looking for a university education for their managers.
Thanks, Agnes. It was also during the 70s when the BCRPA was recognized as the umbrella organization that could guide and assist others in the development of policies and program implementation. Then in 1978-79, the provincial government introduced the Festival of Games. It started with the Summer Games, quickly grew to include the Winter, Senior, and Disabled Games. But the 80s brought with them some tough economic times.
Well, we had some amazing fiscal challenges we had to react to, and some of us reacted by developing more effective services. We planned better, we delivered better, we built better facilities, as Mike said. But many of us also verged off into bottom line thinking. We began to focus too much on revenue production, recovery rates, market segmentation. And when we did that, we often lost sight of what we were about in the first place and forgot about individuals in the community that we needed to serve. And so at the end of that era, many people were saying, what is our future? Have we lost sight of our real role in communities? Have we lost sight of the role of public parks and recreation? And we began to ask what that future is, and in fact, is there a future?
It was a serious question. These were the Thatcher-Mulroney years where there was a call to privatize just about everything.
Well, you know, that time was a sucking back at the provincial level. At the municipal level, we didn't feel that as strongly. There was certainly evidence of that, and my involvement with the BCRPA had happened in the late 70s, and I was president in the mid-80s, and I can remember sitting on a BC ferry writing to Premier Van der Zalm saying, you've been talking about downloading, why don't you download some of these services onto the BCRPA for a fee? We'll provide some of these things that the province is doing. And the province was divesting itself of sport and recreation.
At the time, the provincial government rejected the idea. That said, the sector didn't crumble. After seeing transfer payments become greatly reduced, innovative and alternative concepts were adapted in revenue gathering and program delivery. In spite of the fiscal challenges, the 80s and early 90s are seen as the second great wave of advancement, as the sector shifted its positioning to what is known as the benefits movement. Don Hunter, what was the benefits movement all about?
The first catalog came out in 1991, and it was really an attempt to try to ensure that politicians understood the value of what we did. But when they actually surveyed what they came up with, they found that politicians got the message. They understood the value of what we did and value of what we should do. But it was people in the field that didn't really fully understand it.
As a result, once again we changed, we adapted, we drew in new partners. The private sector was invited. Facilities reflected the needs of the community.
Our sector has definitely evolved. We've evolved from a service provider delivering programs and services in the community to a community developer, certainly through the late 70s and early 80s. And right now, I think we're in a position, a very strong position, to really deliver on a new mission. And our mission is the quality of life of all British Columbians.
Today, partners at all levels see recreation and parks as a quality of life issue. We know the social and health benefits. Bill Webster, what does the future look like?
With facilities in particular, we're heading into an even greater amount of partnerships with other organizations, working closely with health, working closely with school districts, working in some cases closely with private partners that bring different things to the table, but it's a philosophy that the field has embraced in recent years, where we can't do everything for everybody, but together, working with others, we can.
In fact, we've become experts at building these networks to meet a wide range of community needs. And working with community groups and volunteers, we're not only providing higher quality services, we're also building significant leadership capacity within our communities and an even brighter future. Susan, you'd agree?
One of the important things about us as a sector is we were always collaborative. We were never competitive, and we always looked to a facilitating role. So how do we work with all the other providers, whether they're not-for-profit, whether they're private? And I think that's done us well. I think that's allowed us as an institution, as a profession, to really bring the community together and to drive change and to ensure people work together in a very coordinated way.
The International Olympic Committee has the honor of announcing that the 21st Olympic Winter Games in 2010 are awarded to the city of Vancouver.
Now that was an amazing day, and here just recently is the premiere as they put the final panel on the roof of the Olympic Oval in Richmond. As many of you know, Premier Campbell has challenged British Columbia to be the healthiest jurisdiction to ever host an Olympic Games. The role of recreation in parks has never been more important. The history of the BCRPA is rich. It's played an important part in the building of the province, and it's going to play an increasingly important role in the years ahead. We're out of time, but just before we go, please take a look at the future. Here at the University of Victoria, students are enrolled in 3 different disciplines within the recreation and park sector. They are learning from our experience, and it provides them with a solid foundation from which to build upon. Thank you for joining us in celebrating 50 years of the British Columbia Recreation and Parks Association.